How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Top Gun 3 is officially in the works for Paramount. I have no idea why, but there's your news of the day. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. 877-973-7425 should you wish to be on the program. I need to reiterate this news for some of my low information voters out there. Now, there's been a grand conspiracy theory that the claims of the bullet that killed Charlie Kirk, there was no way a bullet of that caliber could have killed Charlie Kirk. There's just no way, because in their life experience, it just wasn't possible, blah, 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 blah. The ATF confirms that it was as the police said it was, and all the morons on the internet who believed it could not be were wrong. So now they will consider the conspiracy must go higher. Must go all the way to the highest powers of government. By the end of the week, they'll be convinced that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump had something to do with Charlie Kirk on behalf of the Jews or some such, because everything they keep saying about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, first of all, it's kind of wild, is it not, the obsession people have with just there's got to be a conspiracy, that things can't be as it is. It just can't be Tyler Robinson. It must be the Jews. And that it can't be the caliber of bullet they claimed it would be. It just couldn't be. There's no possible way. And yet it was. And so they'll move on to something else. It's just people don't want to accept life as it is. They've got to reinvent it to make it sexier or sinister or whatever. It's kind of wild. At the end of the day, it's just stupid people who are bored. Now, we must move on to the raw politics of the day because, well, there are laws of politics. Donald Trump every once in a while seems to defy the laws of politics, the raw politics of the age, but the chickens eventually come home to roost. Politics comes with political gravity. What goes up must come down. Polling, for example. The polling average for the president of the United States has him hovering around 40%, which is slightly less than Obama at his midterm of his second term in office, and slightly higher than George W. Bush, who is at about 35%. Trump's about 40%. Things aren't going well for the GOP. As a result, it's starting to drag down even their chances in the United States Senate. The only group that Donald Trump is actually outperforming with are senior citizens. They love Donald Trump. My gosh, do senior citizens love Trump? Here's Harry Hinton from CNN.
I'll answer your question, Mr. Berman, and that is because President Trump is more than holding his own amongst a very large portion of the electorate, a very reliable voting bloc, and that is senior citizens. Take a look here, okay? Trump's approval rating, age 65 plus. In March of 2025, 46%. Look at where it is now. It's basically the same. Seniors have not moved. He's at 44% now. And the key nugget here is for all this talk about young people in the electorate, such as myself, or at least I like to include myself in that block, it turns out that older voters, senior citizens, vote in far larger numbers. So Republicans look at this number and they say, hey, you know what? We can actually potentially do some real damage, or at least hold our own in the midterms, because President Trump is holding his own with this very important voting bloc.
So how does that number 44% compare historically to other presidents?
Okay, this is where it gets even more interesting. It turns out if you look at all the 21st century second-term presidents and you look at senior citizens, Trump actually has the best approval rating at this point in the second term of all of them. Donald Trump at 44%. Obama was under 40% at 39%. George W. Bush was way down there at 34%. So Donald Trump is beating other presidents this century at this point in their second term, beating all of them, and therefore, as I said, holding his own amongst a very key voting bloc. The President of the United States and the White House should like this number, especially compared to Obama, who Trump, of course, always likes to beat.
Yes, it's true. It is true. Trump is outperforming among senior citizens, and they are more likely than any other voting group to turn out in the midterms. And that's good for the GOP. What is bad for the GOP, however, is, well, the caliber of candidates and, well, the general antipathy of all other voting blocs, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, against Donald Trump, and they're starting to take it out on the GOP. Also, Harry Hinton from Aaron Burnett last night.
If he's going to say that openly, how bad is it?
I mean, it's bad. It's like a nightmare for the Republicans. The Democrats just keep gaining and gaining and gaining when it comes to the Senate odds. And you could see it really well in the Kalshi prediction market. I mean, just take a look at the chance that Democrats win control. You know, at the beginning of the year, it was only about a 1 in 3 shot. But now look at this. Democrats haven't just gained on Republicans. They actually have the majority chance at 54%. And that's fairly close to a toss-up. But the bottom line is this. We all thought that the House was going to go to the Democrats. But the Senate as well? Oh, boy. My goodness gracious.
Yeah, I mean, well, at first that was sort of, well, no way.
No
then
way.
It was,
no
well,
way. No
tiny
how.
chance. And now you point
Boom.
out what a shift. Okay. So because of what? What are the key races that have driven that shift from 1 in 3 to the majority chance?
Yeah, take a look at the Cook Political Report, which just came out this week, and they shifted 4 key races closer to Democrats taking. What are we talking about here? Well, we can talk about Georgia going from a toss-up to lean Democratic. How about North Carolina? This would be a Democratic pickup from toss-up to lean Democrat. How about Ohio, a state that Donald Trump won by double digits, from lean GOP to toss-up with the likely Democratic nominee Sherrod Brown, the former senator. And then Nebraska hasn't elected a Democratic or a non-Republican senator since 2006, but it went from solid Republican to likely Republican. Democrats are gaining in many different seats across the political map, putting new states into play, and that's the reason why at this point they actually have a 54% chance of taking over the United States Senate.
That's a problem because around the country there are a growing number of Democratic candidates surging. Now, I don't really put a lot of stock in Kalshi. I think it was bad for a news outlet like CNN to partner with Kalshi and give you these sorts of odds that are more easily manipulated. But the Republicans in the Senate are also behind the scenes saying the same thing. This, by the way, is why it would be bad news for Republicans in Texas to nominate Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton is so scandal-plagued. I think he could still beat James Tallarico, but Paxton has $2 million raised right now, and James Tallarico has $27 million raised, more than 10 times the amount of money raised by the Democrat. Now, people are saying, but wait. Same thing happened with Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz. You're right, but Ted Cruz did not have his entire staff reporting to the FBI. Ted Cruz was not having multiple affairs with lobbyists. Ted Cruz was not under investigation by the federal government, nor impeached by the legislature. Ken Paxton has. You can turn off independent voters. The amount of money that Republicans will have to spend in Texas to carry Ken Paxton across the finish line, as opposed to John Cornyn, every dollar spent to help Ken Paxton survive is a dollar not spent in Georgia, not spent in North Carolina, not spent in Michigan, not spent in Nebraska, not spent in Ohio. You can have the Democrats pick up Ohio and pick up North Carolina. North Carolina is very likely to go to the Democrats at this point. The Republicans in Georgia, Brian Kemp is standing by Derek Dooley, who has not been a great candidate on the campaign trail and has struggled with fundraising. But there are a lot of Republicans behind the scenes who think that he's less likely to be tarred and feathered than Mike Collins, the front runner, because of the ethics concerns. Mike Collins is under investigation by the House Ethics Committee in the U.S. House of Representatives. He's got a chief of staff who himself has all sorts of bags of problems, bags of crazy. That's going to be a problem in the general election when you take on John Ossoff, a guy who knows how to beat people who are perceived as corrupt. Derek Dooley, Brian Kemp thinks is a safer bet in the general election, which is why he continues to stand by Derek Dooley as opposed to Mike Collins, who's under an ethics investigation. The Republicans risk blowing the general election with the quality of their candidates. In Nebraska, Pete Ricketts is a great candidate. He is being challenged by an independent. The Democrats out there have to some degree messed themselves up. They were trying to keep a Democrat off the ballot. I think the Democrat is now on the ballot with the independent. But you're going to have to spend money in Nebraska you otherwise wouldn't have to spend. The nice thing about Ricketts is his family's from billionaires. He can self-fund. Ken Paxton cannot self-fund in Texas. He may be corrupt, but he wasn't corrupt enough to become a billionaire, and the attacks from Tallarico on him are going to devastate him. And again, I actually think Tallarico is such a creepy guy that even Paxton can beat him in Texas, but you're going to have to spend a lot more money on Paxton than you would on Cornyn. Now you've got a United States Senate in play. Texas Republicans need to ask themselves how vested they are in controlling the United States Senate, because they're going to have to spend a lot of money to salvage Ken Paxton. And every dollar spent on Paxton to save him from Tallarico is a dollar not spent winning Georgia, not spent saving Nebraska, not spent saving Ohio, not spent saving North Carolina. You could lose the United States Senate because you were so invested in making sure Paxton beats Cornyn that Paxton wins at the expense of every other race. That's where we are now. Texans, you need to vote for John Cornyn, even though you don't particularly care for John Cornyn, because Ken Paxton could cost you the United States Senate. He could win and cost us everything else because of the amount of money spent salvaging his campaign, because he's so corrupt, so dirty. He turns off independent voters. And Tallarico's raising so much money, he can just eviscerate the guy in the ad campaign. It's wild to see this play out. It's wild to see Republicans' self-destruction. It's like the Herschel Walker campaign. In Georgia, 2 years ago, or 4 years ago now, almost, I warned people that Herschel Walker was a disaster waiting to happen. He's a very nice man. And I don't mean this personally against him. He's a very nice man, and he overcame his mental health struggles. He's been very honest about it. But when you find out he held a gun to his wife's head and engaged in spousal abuse and had bipolar disorder and all sorts of other problems, they were well documented. They were on film talking about it. The ad campaigns wrote themselves. I got attacked by people I used to have good relationships with until this moment. Like, Donald Trump said this guy, I can't believe you're such a traitor. You hate Donald Trump so much, you won't go with this guy. It's Herschel freaking Walker. He's going to walk away with it. He's a University of Georgia football hero. Everybody's going to love him. He lost. He lost exactly as I told you he was going to lose. He lost exactly how I told you he was going to lose. They used all the personal stories. Women I knew in church were coming up to me saying, how are we putting up a guy who held a gun to his wife's head, who has bipolar disorder? This is not good. No, it's not good. And I told you, and you guys decided to ignore me because you said I was never Trump. I didn't know what I was talking about. Donald Trump's the genius. He supported Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker's going to win. He lost exactly as I told you was going to happen. In Texas, I'm telling you, in Texas, Ken Paxton could potentially win in Texas. I'm telling you this. You need to know it. You need to hear me say this. I think Ken Paxton can win in Texas, and by winning, it's called a Pyrrhic victory, where you win the battle and lose the war. Because to get Ken Paxton across the finish line in Texas, you're going to have to spend so much money to save Ken Paxton that you're going to not be able to have money to win Georgia. You're going to lose North Carolina. You're going to lose Ohio. You could potentially lose Nebraska, and you're not going to gain Michigan, and you could lose Maine. That would give the Democrats control of the United States Senate. Every dollar that is spent to salvage Ken Paxton in Texas is a dollar not spent on these other races. So you could win the battle and lose the war. Talk about a Pyrrhic victory. We'll call it a Paxton victory thereafter, because I think James Tallarico is such a creepy dude, he could lose. But he's got $27 million, and Ken Paxton has $2 million. And James Tallarico has a story to tell about Ken Paxton related to corruption, related to greed, related to an FBI investigation, related to his divorce, related to his sordid personal life. That's going to turn off a lot of independent voters who would easily vote for John Cornyn because he's a known commodity. You may not like John Cornyn, but with John Cornyn, you get Texas and you get the Senate. With Ken Paxton, you get Texas and lose the Senate. The calculus is there. Then all these people, Eric, so you don't know what you're talking about. No, I know perfectly well what I'm talking about. I can see the train wreck coming. Ken Paxton had his staff turn on him and report him to the authorities. The ad campaign for Tallarico writes itself. And Tallarico, because it's Texas and he's a creepy dude, can still lose. But you spent so much money to rehabilitate Paxton in the ad campaign, you've cost yourself the United States Senate. Republicans, particularly those of you in Texas, are you suicidal? Some of you are. You want to lose the Senate and self-righteously get Paxton there because you would actually prefer to be in the minority where you have no power, but you have lots of speaking opportunities. I have a bone to pick with Brooklyn Bedding. So we got one of their mattresses. You know, I regularly try to, I shouldn't say regularly, 5 years or so to 8 years, change my mattress. So we got the mattress from Brooklyn Bedding. Got a king-size mattress. It's got, it's not one of the foam ones. It's got coils, and it is very comfortable. Well, then my daughter's like, hey, it's been a long time since I've got. We now have multiple Brooklyn mattresses in our house, and they're fantastic. They hold up. You know, they're designed, they're assembled in an Arizona factory. There are no middlemen. There are no gimmicks. Top-tier quality, honest pricing, and American craftsmanship for a better night's sleep, and they really are comfortable. We've got the great hybrid mattress, which, you know, Wirecutter says is fantastic. Go to brooklynbedding.com. Use my promo code ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, at checkout. Get 30% off site-wide. Not available anywhere else. brooklynbedding.com. Use the promo code ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, for 30% off site-wide. brooklynbedding.com, promo code ERIC. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Glad to have you with me. 877-973-7425 should you wish to be on the program. It's not just eggs that are getting cheaper. Beef prices may be getting more expensive, but egg prices have completely collapsed. But you know what else is collapsing? Chocolate prices. The price of a ton of cocoa is down 41.6% since the start of the year, and down 57.6% over the last 12 months. Chocolate prices. Remember, when Trump came back into office, chocolate prices were very high. It's funny how everybody moves on. The Democrats made a very big deal about not just egg prices being so high when Trump took office. It was actually because of the bird flu. They also made a very big deal about chocolate prices being so high. Remember last year at Easter, the Democrats were running graphics of chocolate Easter bunnies and how much more expensive they were because of Donald Trump. Well, in the last 12 months, chocolate prices have fallen over 57%. And egg prices have flat out cratered. Eggs are now cheaper than any time in the last year and a half. They're cheaper than when Biden was president. Egg prices have come down. Chocolate prices have come down. Nature is healing. And, you know, ironically, shares of chocolate companies are starting to fall because of profitability issues because they're cutting prices since the price of chocolate's come down. And so the fallout for chocolate prices coming down is that chocolate companies' stock prices are falling over profitability concerns. It's funny how all of that works. But yes, egg prices are down and chocolate prices are down. Beef is up. Chocolate and eggs down. That's good. Now, I need to tell you about Incogni. In fact, I want to do this for you. It's been a little while. Incogni. It's like incognito without the T-O, I-N-C-O-G-N-I. Incogni.com/Eric. I'm going to log into my account, and I'm going to give you the latest number. Incogni.com/Eric. You can save up to 60%. 340 data brokers now. 225 of them suppressed. 96 active monitoring. In progress, 19 takedown notices. What is Incogni? Incogni is a site that goes to the online data brokers and demands they delete your information. Delete your information. In fact, I can tell you today, I have not had a single spam call. I've been getting spam calls. They've gone down since I started using Incogni. You know, though, we would like to offer you a loan, or do you need IRS tax help? I was getting a lot of them. I started using Incogni, and they got less and less and less and less. Today, I did not get a single spam call before the show started. There has been a company calling with a Kentucky area code, different numbers, block every one of them. And it's we would like to offer you this credit line and blah, 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 blah. Incogni's been on it and they shut it down. I haven't gotten a single spam call today for the first time in months. 340 data brokers covered. They can do it for you too. Incogni.com/Eric. Incogni.com/ERICK. Be more private online with Incogni. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Eric Erickson here. We're getting lots of angry people who are very upset with me calling and yelling at my call screener because they say I'm calling them dumb. But you know what? Oh, well. Okay. Now, By the way, my buddy Joe at KPEL down in Lafayette tells me that there is legislation in the Louisiana legislature to allow an annual recreational alligator hunting season. There'd be 5,000 people opening a lottery who could go hunt alligators recreationally. They have a commercial alligator hunting season in Louisiana, but they want a recreational one too. They went from about 100,000 alligators 5 decades ago, 50 years ago, to 3 million now, 2+ million alligators in the wild in Louisiana. A little boy in New Orleans a while back was dragged into the water and by an alligator and drowned tragically. They're becoming a nuisance. It's time to go kill some alligators. I need to send my producer down there so he can blow off steam killing alligators. Let's talk about Zoran Mamdani, the communist. Remember, the media said he's not a communist, even though he said he was a communist, running as a democratic socialist. Boy, the media covers for these people. They covered for Eric Swalwell. They're covering from Mamdani. He is a communist, and he is doing his best to destroy New York, and I want it to happen. And I want you to know I'm very sorry if you're offended by me cheering on Mamdani in New York, but he told you who he was, and you voted for him. And we've seen a lot of people try to blame everyone else, say, no, it was the immigrants, the native New Yorkers, they opposed him, what have you. I don't care. New York City voted for Mamdani. Andrew Cuomo stood in the way. You could have had a better candidate, but you billionaires who are now being targeted by Mamdani, you stood by Andrew Cuomo, even though he ran a disastrous campaign with a lot of failed opposition research. You insisted that he was the guy. You propped him up because you were stupid. And your stupidity is now going to pay the price of Mamdani coming for you. He didn't have to get elected, but he did get elected. And you've got 4 years to put up with this guy as he wrecks your city. And you're going to get it good and hard. And I hate it for you, but you get what you voted for. And you people who stood behind Andrew Cuomo and circled the wagons, you're getting exactly what you deserve for being that boneheaded when it came to that campaign. You need to recognize what a disaster it was for you to stand behind Andrew Cuomo. The arrogance of a man who killed your grandmothers and then sexually assaulted their daughters or sexually harassed their daughters running for office, it's absurd. And yet you did it to yourselves. You billionaires who he's coming for, you're the ones who backed Andrew Cuomo. You're getting what you deserve for being idiots by doing what you did. It's horrible to watch, and yet I'm excited to watch New York get it good and hard. Mamdani, I want you to listen to his announcement.
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-à-terre tax is specifically designed for the richest of the rich, those who store their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live here. But even so, they're able to reap the huge financial rewards of owning property in, dare I say, the greatest city in the world. And most of the time, these units are sitting empty, since again, they don't actually live here. This is a fundamentally unfair system that hurts working New Yorkers. Now, it's coming to an end. This tax will raise at least $500 million directly for the city. It'll help fund things like free childcare, cleaner streets, and safer neighborhoods. As mayor, I believe everyone has a role to play in contributing to our city, and some a little bit more than others. Happy Tax Day, New York.
Is it not psychopathic to hear a politician excited that it's tax day, to name a resident of the city, to name and shame a resident of the city? So essentially, if you own a second home in New York City that's valued at more than $5 million, that's already getting taxed, by the way, there's already property taxes on that property, you're going to get an extra property tax on that property. You know and I know what's going to happen. They're going to sell. In fact, many of them are going to sell at losses, and it's going to bring down the property values of other properties, which is going to lower the taxable value of every other property, which is going to lower the property tax revenue for the city of New York. Like the tariff issue, this is basic economics. Whenever all these billionaires start saying, well, you don't want us there, screw you, we're leaving, they're going to sell at losses, and they are the ones who can afford to sell their properties at losses. That's going to then lower the value of the surrounding properties because properties are valued comparably to each other. That's then going to reduce the tax rate on the property that comes into New York City, and they're going to have more of a financial crisis. It's very funny to watch. And this is what New York City voted for. It is psychopathic to see the mayor of New York relishing the idea that he's going to tax the rich and supposedly going to pay for all sorts of things. The basic laws of economics say, no, you are not. Now, I want to go over to MSNBC, where, of course, you got Donnie Deutsch cheering him on.
Yeah, look, nobody's been more critical of Mamdani than me, but this is a smart move. Basically, the argument about raising taxes against wealthy people is that, look, 1% of the people pay almost 50% of the taxes, and we're going to cause this hemorrhaging, people going to Florida, people going to other states. But this is not that. This is something different. This is a way of getting revenue in from people who this is their second home and they don't live here. So as much as I like to take shots at the mayor, this is a smart move.
No, it's not, Donnie, because now these people are just going to sell the houses and lower the property values. It's wild to see the fundamental breakdown of basic economics by the left and the right, whether it's tariffs on the right or property taxes on the left. By the way, I have to correct myself. Yesterday, I said that the mayor was going to build a grocery store for free, or a free grocery store in 3 years, or a subsidized grocery store in 3 years for $3 million. It's $30 million. Maybe I said it right. But it's going to take him 3 years to build a grocery store. It's going to cost $30 million to build this grocery store, and the basic goods in the grocery store are going to be subsidized by the taxpayers of New York City. Other states have tried this. They've all failed, and most of those grocery stores have gone out of business or run out of products to sell. But this mayor thinks he can do it differently in New York City. Good luck with that. Good luck to New York City. You get what you voted for. You really do get what you voted for. In California, you voted for Karen Bass in Los Angeles. Her popularity is in the gutter, and your houses still aren't being rebuilt because you voted for someone who believes in big government. You voted for Gavin Newsom. You propped him up for years in California. You can't even get a rail line built, and you put it in a place that no one wants to build a rail line, and you're not going to get any passengers, and now it's become a jobs program. Time and time again, that's the way this thing descends, is all these projects become jobs programs. We're going to get realtors who have jobs programs in New York trying to get rid of the second homes of the billionaires. Do you really think the billionaires are going to stay? Some of them will, but a lot of them won't. All the people in the skyscrapers who bought those houses, those massive super skyscrapers that have destroyed the views in New York City around Central Park, many of those buildings actually poorly built. You've got the billionaires who bought the houses there. Are they really going to stay in New York City when they don't live there now? Why pay the burden of the extra tax on top of the property tax they're already paying when they can move elsewhere? New York City was arguably the greatest city on the planet. Not anymore. It's going downhill. It's wild to look across the West to San Francisco, a city that is realizing it went too far left and is trying to become more centrist. It's never going to be that centrist. It's always going to be a loony left-wing city. But even San Francisco thinks it went too far. And San Francisco is now reversing policies that Mamdani in New York is embracing. And the left is going wild. They love the guy. They love the energy. He, by the way, is historically unpopular for a first-term mayor. His popularity is far less than even Eric Adams at the same time during his tenure in office, even Bill de Blasio or Rudy Giuliani. Mamdani is far less popular than him, and he doesn't care. He's got the power, and he's going to use it. And no one's standing up to him. In fact, you've got the governor of New York has decided it's a good idea. The governor of New York has decided to double down on supporting this because what Mamdani wanted to do was he wanted to increase the income tax across all of New York State to subsidize New York. And she said no. So now what he's going to do is this tax in New York City, and she's agreed to it. She doesn't care about New York City or him. She's in her second term, and she's not going to live with the consequences. The billionaires of New York City will. It's fun for the left to tax the rich, and increasingly, there's a segment of the right that also likes to vilify the rich. I mean, I say this tongue-in-cheek to some degree that the Alex Soros guy, I'm kind of a fan of him because he keeps backing such wackadoo progressive policies that progressives get more and more alienated from the rest of America, that they keep backing these far-left progressive district attorneys and people then keep voting them out of office. I mean, they keep doubling down on these far-left policies that drag the Democratic Party to the left, and the American people keep moving to the right as a result. I kind of appreciate that. It's just really, really wild to watch the left self-implode in this country. And the crazy thing for you and me is that the right's not capitalizing on any of this stuff. Everybody's running around hiding from Donald Trump, who keeps saying the dumb stuff on social media. If only Donald Trump would delete his account on social media, there'd be less to focus on. Now, I know he's never going to. He wants that connection, but maybe, just maybe, the president should restrain himself on social media so that we can allow the people of America to move on to other things that matter, to focus on those things, to get away from the conspiracy theories. You know, it's wild right now. You've got David Hogg, the gun control activist, saying he's willing to give Marjorie Taylor Greene a chance. The Democrats are full-scale embracing Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's getting more coverage on CNN and more airtime on CNN now that she's attacking Donald Trump than ever before. The left is amplifying these voices on the right who have gone nuts. Marjorie Taylor Greene is moving to the left. She's an anti-Semite. She's a nut job, moving to the left, but she blasts the president, so they're embracing the nut jobs. The left is elevating the nut jobs. They're putting them in positions of power, the Graham Plantners of the world, the Zoran Mamdanis of the world. The GOP has plenty of opportunities. And here is where I think this ultimately winds up. In all candor and honesty, I think the Republicans probably lose the House in November. It's the nature of the party out of power doing well in a midterm, particularly of a president's second term. They may hold on to the Senate if the GOP gets smart in the primaries and nominates good people and rejects people like Paxton. They may save the Senate. And then I think the Democrats will say, you know what, we won. We don't have to do anything. Everybody agrees with us. History bends our way, and they will do nothing. And they will double down on their crazy. They will double down on their communism. They will double down on their taxation policies. They will double down on their fiscal recklessness. And they will double down on their woke insanity. And in 2028, the voters will reject the Democrats again. I just hope by 2028, the Republican fever dream of deciding that we can be insane too burns itself out. So you have a reasonable, responsible candidate who we don't have to wake up in the morning and wonder what, oh God, did he put on social media last night that's going to misdirect the conversation into something we don't want. Hello. If you text Eric to 33777, click that first link, subscribe to the show notes. My buddy Leland Vittert at News Nation says it's the best conservative email out there. And I would agree. Keep you up to date. All the links, all the topics I've talked about, they're there today. The President of the United States of America has announced he has just come out of a briefing about the 10 murdered and missing U.S. scientists involved in the nuclear weapons program. Says it is very serious that they were doing important work. There are not a lot of things that we know right now, but the administration is taking this very seriously. This has now risen to the level of the president and gotten his attention. He told Peter Doocy at Fox News he had come out of the meeting and that this is a serious incident. So I suspect there's going to be a lot more attention to what's going on now, and maybe we can get some answers here. It would actually be good if the president was able to get some answers, if we were able to get some answers. The president also said he actually gave a decent statement about the Pope today. If only the president had given these sorts of statements in the past, saying essentially that the Pope can say what he wants to say. I'm okay with that. I just disagree with him. It sure would be nice if he had said that the first time. He's been on the lawn of the White House, headed out to the helicopter to go somewhere that he said these things, and he gave reasonable statements. He also, by the way, said that it is him. He made the difference in the Israel-Lebanon peace agreement, and I think that's actually absolutely right. By the way, I just got sent this clip. This is the president from the South Lawn of the White House.
10 missing scientists with access to classified stuff, nuclear material, aerospace. They've all gone missing or turned up dead in the last couple months. Based on what you've been briefed, what do you think is happening here? And do you think that this is connected or totally random?
Well, I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half. I just left the meeting on that subject, so pretty serious stuff. But we're going to be hopefully, I don't know, coincidence, if you whatever you want to call it. But some of them were very important people, and we're going to look at it over the next short period.
10 missing.
Yeah, good. Clearly, there are some real issues about this, and there's a growing body of evidence that suggests these people are connected. So hopefully we can get some answers about why our nuclear scientists are either, well, disappearing or being murdered. And it's across the nation. It's not just in New Mexico at Los Alamos. It's around the nation. Now, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I put off until the final minutes of this program this topic by purpose. If you haven't heard, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., at some point removed the male reproductive organ of a dead raccoon because he wanted to study it further. Didn't he also, chop off the head of a whale or something? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a weird dude. He's a conspiracy theorist who has been put at the highest ranks of government to spread his conspiracy theories and do all sorts of damage to people's trust in health. Now, the COVID guys, the Fauci people, they certainly did a lot of damage. The healthcare experts did a lot of damage on their own to people's trust in the government and trust in medical research. But good Lord, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is insane. And we keep finding out more and more insane stuff about him. At least it appears that the Wiccan who would be our secretary or our surgeon general, her nomination is dead. I hope that's the case. It appears that the witch woman who talked to the trees and chanted at the moon is not going to be our surgeon general. But we got a Secretary of Health and Human Services who increasingly we find out he has done some demented, weird stuff. And I will say stuff, but that is not the word in my head I'm thinking. He's done some weird stuff. And he is a bizarre dude who just keeps being a distraction. I don't understand people's infatuation with the guy. He's a creep. Now, you can get rid of noxious odors, the sulfurous odors of a Robert Kennedy visit if you go to EdenPureDeals.com, put in the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3. Eric3 would love to have you go check them out. I have the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, and it really works at odor elimination. And if it doesn't work for you, they got a money-back guarantee on it. You can see the site for details, EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Eric3. And it just works. It eliminates odors. It generates ozone. Ozone acts as odor bleach. It's well known to act as odor bleach. You put one of these Eden Pure Thunderstorms in a room where there's bad odors. It generates ozone, and the ozone wipes out the bad odors. And it goes to the source where you can't go because it is a gas, like the odors are a gas. You get 3 of them, upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your travel bag, your RV. There, you can hold them in your hand. They're portable enough you can hold it in your hand. I keep one in my travel bag. You can plug it up with a USB cord. You can plug it into the wall. I've been in hotels that had fireplaces where they have the Eden Pure Thunderstorm to wipe out the smoky odor from the fireplace. They just work. EdenPureDeals.com. You get 3 of them. You save $200. Money back guarantee. See site for details. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code ERIC3. You guys have a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow.